Today, I want to talk a little bit about an industry that desperately, in my opinion, needs a disruption, which arguably the real estate industry as a whole is undergoing one as we speak, and somehow this industry that I'm about to talk about has managed to get away with practices that are just archaic. From my standpoint, from a real estate sales standpoint, and just a market analysis standpoint. So appraisals, residential real estate appraisals. So when a buyer who is financing a purchase through a bank or a lending institution makes formal application for that loan, they have a contract on a house that they're buying, one of the first steps that lender or institution does is order an appraisal. Once the lender orders that appraisal, it is managed by what's called an appraisal management company, AMC for short. That AMC may have a pool of appraisers that are under them that they throw this job. So the job is the appraisal. They throw it out to this pool of appraisers that are a part of this management company. And an appraiser picks it up. Maybe they see that, hey, I know this area well, this will be a slam dunk, or hey, this is an easy one, or hey, this one pays well, or hey, I can actually make this deadline. Whatever the reason is, they pick it up, and that's how they get paid, is they do appraisals, and they get paid just about the same from what I see at the closing table across the board. So number one problem is they have no incentive to work extra hard to get to a value, right? If that contract price, the contract they're holding in their hand, when they get to that house and they measure it and they look at comps, etc., if that is going to require extra work, they may not be incentivized to do it because they get paid the same no matter what. Okay, so that's problem number one. Problem number two is nowhere in this appraisal report is supply and demand addressed. So economics 101, one of the first things I learned in that class at Auburn University was the rule of supply and demand and how it affects market value of a good or a service. Nowhere in this report is market demand or supply really given any value. It may be spoken to, it may be mentioned, but the fact that there were 5 or 6 offers on this property that they're holding a contract on, and the overall climate of the market, it's not given any value. So if you're a seller, obviously the best case would be to receive an offer with no appraisal contingency, whether that's cash or whether it's financed, and the buyer has cash to bridge any gap that may come from a low appraised value that's lower than your contract price. So you're obviously looking for those things. If you don't get that, maybe you'll get some happy medium. And when I say that, I mean you might get an offer that says, hey, yes, we need the property to appraise. However, if it comes in low, we, the buyer, are willing to pay, let's just say, $10,000 more than the appraised value. Okay, let's just say it comes in $20,000 low. That buyer is saying they're willing to pay $10,000 more than what the appraiser says it's worth. That's a good buyer. That they are doing everything within their limits and abilities to mitigate the seller's risk, and those are the kind of buyers you want to look for as a seller. Not everyone's going to be able to completely remove an appraisal contingency on a financed offer, and we know that. So look for that as a seller. As a buyer, again, put yourself in the seller's shoes. What would you be looking for? And try to model your offer that way. Okay, So we've established that supply and demand is not given any value, or it does not affect the value of the residential real estate appraisal. Number 3, and this is what I'll finish with, is they have no skin in the game. Appraisers, whether they get to that value or not, they really answer to no one as far as I can tell. Now, I'm sure they have a boss somewhere, but they are not working for the buyer or the seller, right? And in a way, that's good, right? That would be a conflict. But just the way that whole operation is structured, in my opinion, as I have had to fight for so many sellers on appraised value, it just feels really flawed to me. So there is a real estate appraisers board in the state of Alabama that you can file a complaint on an appraiser. Maybe if you feel like there's been some negligence, or they didn't take into account some obvious comps that were found, or they beat to their own drum. And I have reported appraisers to the real estate appraisers board before, and it doesn't really seem to do anything. So just moving forward, for you as a consumer, whether you're a buyer or a seller, it is so important that you know what you're getting into. If you're a seller and you're entertaining offers, and you have the option of a cash offer instead of a financed, just know that at the closing table, whether it's cash or it's finance, it's the same to you as a seller. What's different with that cash offer is you more than likely will not have to deal with an appraisal unless that particular buyer has written into their offer that they require the property to appraise for the sales price or greater. So as a buyer, if you are stipulating that this offer that you're making is contingent on an appraised value, or the appraised value being at or above the contract price, if there are other offers that you're competing with that don't have that in it, or have removed that appraisal contingency, you are at a disadvantage. It's important for you to know that as well, because in this age of rising prices and inflation, I am experiencing far more appraisal issues, that is, low appraised values, lower than our contract price. And remember, this is a price that a buyer has said they're willing to pay for a property. And a saying we always have in real estate is, a property is only worth what a buyer is willing to pay. I'm Ben Nemec, Keller Williams Realty in Huntsville, Alabama. Feel free to contact me with any questions about this topic or any topic relating to residential real estate. Would love to chat with you, and I'll see you next time.